Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Book of Druidry, a complete introduction to the magic and wisdom of the Celtic mysteries, by Kristoffer Hughes. Narrated by Gareth Richards. Publisher's note: this audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit tantor.com and type The Book of Druidry into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page, then, under the Supplemental Content section, please enter the access code ELEMENTS, and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All tables, symbols, and examples referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. Preface. What is a Druid? Can someone be a Druid today? What does a Druid do? What is the point of being a Druid? In my 30 years of being a practitioner of modern Druidry, those 4 questions distill the essence of inquiry that I receive the most often. In this book, my aim is to address and expand on those 4 fundamental questions. My mission is to provide the absolute beginner with a picture of modern Druidry, where it came from, how it developed and evolved into its current form, and why it is relevant in the 21st century as a valid and vibrant spiritual practice. This book will also provide you with the tools for practicing Druidry and the various avenues and options available for you to further your progression as a Druid. For those who are familiar with Druidry, or are currently practicing Druidry, this book has something to offer you in re-examining some of the tradition's principles and practices. In the chapters that follow, I shall explore the 4 questions from the perspective of a practicing Druid, and by doing so, I shall delve into the history of Druidry from the ancient past until more recent times. This will provide you with a snapshot of who the ancient Druids were and why we choose to adopt that particular name to describe a current spiritual practice. Of the 4 questions from earlier, the most startling and often jarring is, what is the point of being a Druid? It is the one that caused me to stop and consider the very relevancy of a spiritual tradition that often brings to mind a gathering of bearded white men in white robes at Stonehenge. A quick internet search with the phrase modern Druidry results in anything but bearded men in white at ancient sites. The result will yield a picture of diversity, with few bearded white-robed men in sight. Druidry is vibrant and energetic. It is a tradition that bridges the chasm between the secular and the spiritual, the scholarly and the visionary. It is a tradition that has magic as its beating heart. It is the language of trees, and holds within it the treasures of indigenous languages and cultures, past, present, and future. This book will serve as a testament to the point of Druidry. Druidry, or Druidism. The term Druidry will be used throughout this book, which is differentiated from Druidism. Druidism, a term most often used in academia, can be taken to be a reference to the ancient Druids, or to a vague notion of what Druidry may have been. The "ry" suffix in English indicates something that one does, in a similar fashion that carpentry is something a woodworker does. Druidry is something that a Druid does. This book will explore and expand on what exactly a Druid might do. Today, Druidry is an authentic and thriving spiritual tradition. Its roots are in the deep past, yet its expression is the epitome of modernity and progression. While Druidry is inspired by the past, it does not serve to recreate it, but rather to seed the wisdom of a new tradition that is trailblazing a path into the future. An often used criticism aimed at modern Druidry is that we do not know what the ancient Druids did, and therefore cannot be Druids. This misses the point and function of modern Druidry, as a new and vibrant spirituality that is a product of several centuries of influence. Apostolic succession to the ancient Druids is neither desired nor a requirement. The term Druid means something quite different today than it did in ancient times. In its modern sense, as this book will serve to demonstrate, we are approximately 300 years old, give or take a few years. We stand on the shoulders of giants who inspired a new Druidry that is relevant to a new world. In the chapters that follow, I will strive to explore the nature of who we are and who we are inspired by. Any amount of information on the Druids and the baffling array of Druidic opportunities can be found online with a tap of a finger. But for one's spirit to be moved into deepening a connection with the world of Druidry, inspiration is required. We have a name for this particular kind of inspiration, a Welsh word, Awen. This is the blessed, holy breath that blows through the entire universe and causes all of creation to spring forth in its wake. It is the prickling of the skin that we feel when we are moved, or when something tugs at our heartstrings. This book can only truly be a reflection of my personal journey. For one of the most important aspects of my journey is to inspire others to find their way into the grove of the Druids. This book also stands as a testament to the wider Druid community that I am a part of and that serves to inspire me. Who am I? With that in mind, I should tell you something of who I am and why I am writing this book. I was born several decades ago in the small village of Llanberis, nestled in a deep valley at the foothills of Rhywyddfa, Snowdon, the tallest mountain in Wales and England. I was raised by an entirely Welsh-speaking family and attended a Welsh-speaking school. The ideas of modern Druidry and its expression are inspired by Celtic culture, with one of those cultures being Welsh. Much of what is apparent in Druidry was a part of my upbringing. Myths, legends, and stories of magical worlds and heroes occupied my imagination from when I was an infant. They were always there as a vital aspect of my heritage and culture. After exploring the dominant religion of Britain, Christianity, I left to seek something that would quench a thirst in me that the Church was incapable of satisfying. What I needed was all around me. I had gone looking in all the wrong places for what I required to quench my spiritual thirst. It was held in the land itself. As I matured, I found that a pagan spiritual path was what sang to my heart and spirit. Druidry in Wales is a vibrant and current expression from both a secular and a spiritual perspective. Therefore, it was natural that I was to be drawn towards its streams of inspiration. My first language is Welsh or Cymraeg. I think and dream in Welsh, and English is very much my second and learned language. Wales lacked a pagan Druid group that would encourage my learning and development, so I took it upon myself to establish the Anglesey Druid Order, Ilth Dywithon Mon, in the year 2000. Anglesey, Ynys Mon, was the ancestral chief seat of the Iron Age Druids, attacked by Rome in the latter half of the 1st century of the Common Era. I am the current head of that order, which provides in-person and virtual training within the Welsh Druid tradition. In addition, I completed further training with the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, and I graduated as a Druid from that mystery school. I have written several books that are adjacent to Druidry, but this is my first book that explores the tradition itself. From the offset, it must be stated that the Druidry I practice, teach, and write about is not the only version of the tradition. Druidry has many influences, coloured by language and culture. For some Druids, their focus may be inspired by Ireland and the Irish language, while others are drawn towards Scotland or Brittany and their respective cultural expressions. While we are a common family group, there are linguistic differences, Some are siblings, and some are cousins. Many Druids are comfortable taking inspiration from a variety of sources, and may incorporate Welsh and Irish teachings into their practices, as well as wider Indo-European influences. Others may be drawn to only one expression. As a native Welsh person, my perspective is wholly Welsh and will form the backbone of this book. By sharing my understanding of Druidry, and by proxy my practice of it, my sincerest hope is that you will be inspired to further your studies and progression through the dappled paths of the Druid forest. Wales and Welsh versus Cymru and Cymry. The terms Wales and Welsh are commonly understood to refer to the peoples that inhabit the western promontory of mainland Britain, an area where a non-English-based language is spoken. The term Welsh is an Anglo-Saxon word that refers indiscriminately to the early inhabitants of Britain as foreigners. The Germanic tribes used the term to describe the Celts and Britons, or anyone who is a non-Germanic foreigner. The Welsh, therefore, are essentially described as foreigners in their own land. In the Welsh language, the inhabitants of Wales are called the Cymry, and the land itself, Cymru. These words are derived from the Brythonic word Cymbrogi, meaning fellow countrymen. In recent years, there has been a move by Welsh language campaigners to refer to the language solely as Cymraeg, and the land as Cymru, without reinforcing the concept that we are foreigners in our own land. The move is slow but progressive. In that spirit, throughout this book, you will sometimes happen across the words that we choose to describe ourselves, our language and culture. These will be used interchangeably with the terms Welsh or Wales. Cymru, spelt Cymru, refers to the country itself. Cymraeg is the term for the language, and Cymru, spelt Cymry, refers to its inhabitants. How to use this book. This book presents the history and practice of Druidry from ancient times across 2,000 years to the present. It emphasizes the reader's vitality by placing you as the central figure in this story. This is achieved by examining your attraction to Druidry. And to do this, you will be using mythological tools such as journaling prompts and the internalization of mythological principles throughout this book. The main portion of the book is information that focuses on the whys and hows of Druid practices. This contains information on natural science, magic, energy, meditation, prayer, and ritual, to name but a few. The final chapters offer you a handful of rituals and practices for you to try and maybe incorporate into your Druidry. My aim is to offer you a foundation in Druid theory and practice that comes directly from my experience of it. But know also that this is merely the tip of the iceberg. Druidry has a depth that cannot possibly be covered in one tome. Consider this book to be a letter from me to you, offering you advice and guidance from someone who has been there. When I started on this path so many decades ago, no single book existed that covered such varied subjects as meditation, gods and goddesses, magic, history, and so forth. Here I have written the book that I wanted to read when I first embarked on this journey. There are exercises contained in this book. I encourage you to do as many of them as you can to assimilate the experience into practice. The Sacred Art of Journaling. While this book is the perspective and journey of me, the author, it is also your journey. Hand in hand, we can travel through the dappled groves of Druidry together. In doing so, it is important that you document your journey and the thoughts that arise along the way. Having a journal to accompany any journey is a wonderful addition to recording the process of exploration. When we externalize our thoughts and put them onto paper or into a digital format, Our relationship with the experience is heightened. Taking time out of one's day to journal is not only of benefit to your mental health, but is a time-honored function of magical practice. This practice begins right here, as I ask you to answer some questions. It is traditional in Druidry that a series of questions are asked of the seeker to probe and stir their thoughts as they journey. At this stage, you may not be able to fully articulate your answers, but I suggest that you have a go. If this is your first time exploring Druidry, your answers might be brief. I think a Druid is blank. Can someone be a Druid in the modern world? This is what I think a Druid does. Blank. The function of a Druid is blank. At the end of this book, the same questions will be asked of you to discover how your perception may have altered. My hope is that by coming along on the journey of my Druidry, you may see a reflection of your own explorations. This is the power of inspiration, and it lies at the heart of the Druid tradition. Let us go together into the heart of the Druid forest. Introduction. There is an old Welsh proverb that says, Dod yn ôl at fy nhoed, which literally translates as, to come back to my trees. When used in conversation, it is taken to mean that one has returned to a balanced state of mind or rediscovered one's center. Nobody knows for sure where or when this proverb originated, but in Welsh culture, it carries the sense of an ancient wisdom, one that is often connected to the Druids of the deep past. It evokes a feeling that the self is intimately connected to trees, and that they in turn have the ability to guide and teach us the wonders and mysteries of life. When we return to the trees, something remarkable happens. We discover who we are, who we were meant to be, and how we can express that to the world at large. But to say this is to imply that we have somehow wandered away from the trees. What does that mean? As you hold this proverb in mind, to come back to my trees, consider that at the center of the Druid tradition is the concept of the world tree, or the tree of life. Some may refer to this metaphorical tree as the axis mundi, the center point, the pillar between that which is above and that which is below. In the Welsh tradition it is called the coeden yr bydwedd, the tree of all worlds. It is not a single species, but the wondrous expression of all trees that have ever existed. We can visualize this tree and its roots as they reach down deep into the earth, or metaphorically into the underworld. The trunk is here in the present, and its branches reach into the heavens. It is the point of origin, the place from where all things emerged and extended. You can imagine it as an enormous tree standing in a grove within a forest. We come from this tree. It is the point from which we enter the world and then steadily move into the surrounding forest. The proverb captures a deeper meaning, that as we emerge from the great tree, a moment of magic happens, where the spirit is influenced by a combination of numerous trees, forming the ingredients that will create the unique expression of your life. No two combinations are ever in the same order. They are unique. They are your trees of origin. Excited and ready for adventure, the spirit rushes forward and into the surrounding forest that forms the grove's edges. This becomes the point of division, where we might easily forget the world tree's magic. For many people, the experience of the center has become diminished by their constant wanderings in the surrounding forest of life. When we wander too far from the center, it is easy to lose one's way, to not see the forest for the trees, to become lost in the woods. This can very easily cause us to lose track of our center, of our point of origin, and the reason why we are here in the first place. Druidry is the craft of finding and then reclaiming your center, to come back to your trees, not in a manner that diminishes or denigrates the wonders of the forest of life itself, not in a sense where we must vanquish or somehow remove ourselves from the experience of living. On the contrary, Druidry is the craft of being fully immersed in life while rediscovering and not losing sight of our center. This is easier said than done, for the world is full of perils and wonder, dangers and treasure. The experience of life on this earth is varied and rich, riddled with the joys and the sadness that all humans encounter as they traverse the wheel of life. The beauty of Druidry and its practice is that it serves to direct our attention to the function and purpose of life as an expression of the creative force of the universe itself. It does so by one of the most powerful symbols that humankind has continuously utilized to express mystery: a tree. When we are born into this world, we are still firmly attached to the world tree. But as time progresses and we discover our individuality, we become acutely aware of I and other. Slowly but surely, we move from the center and outwards into the experience of life, and in doing so, many will eventually embark on a journey to discover exactly who they are. Druidry is the call of the world tree that reminds you of who you are. Its practice and crafting return you to the familiar roots of the world tree, where you discover the unique expression of your life's purpose and the inherent wisdom that lies within you. Druidry serves to return you to the point at which your story becomes pertinent, and you discover the unique purpose of your own personal Awen, your superpower. That word may appear provocative, grand even, and yet it truly is the function of the craft of Druidry. Your own talents and skills are elements of the universe's creative force, expressing itself through your human life. Your superpower may be in your ability to express that creativity through poetry or music or song. You may be drawn to write or spurred into action as an activist or a powerful organizer. Or your superpower might be your ability to be the best parent you can be, or your ability to listen intently to others. Your superpower is your Awen. Druidry helps you find that power and then express it in a manner that reflects the truth that your life and your living is an extension of the same power that gave rise to planets and suns and distant galaxies and the smallest of creatures that live on our planet. You are an embodiment of mystery, and through you, the universe can learn much about itself. This is the function and purpose of Druidry. Dodonol at Van Hoyd, to come back to your trees. Spiritual traditions and religions have been constant companions in the experience of humanity, and they have arisen because of an inherent need, the desire to find meaning. I do not believe that in a wholly rationalized universe we will have a world populated by content and happy people. An entirely logocentric world, one without mythos or beliefs, would be a cold and hard place, an unfeeling world of facts and statistics. Logos is the prevailing force in human society, and yet we crave and long for its counterpart, mythos. Logos rules the world of facts. It is calculated, rational. It believes it knows what is right and wrong, and seeks to maintain the status quo. It helps us explain the world around us in scientific and quantifiable ways that make sense and are sensible. Facts are, after all, the truth, right? Unfortunately, no. We can individually or collectively manipulate the facts to substantiate a claim or strengthen an agenda. Facts provide gravitas and an air of indisputable organization. In contrast, mythos provides a narrative that encourages us to explore how we feel and what we imagine. It is entirely subjective and cannot be quantified by facts and figures. It is the realm of deep imagination, the magic behind and between the words of a story. It is compelling and provides a window through which we can perceive the potential magic in the world and our place within it. Logos and mythos are not diametrically opposed. They are two sides of the same coin. Druidry is the craft of building the bridge between those two concepts, not favoring one over the other. Druidry is the craft of learning and knowing the right protocols that enable the Druid, and those that they inspire, to find a way back to their trees. A Druid understands on a profoundly deep level that any part of us can return to the center. This place where we return to our trees is not a fixed destination. It is within you all the time. Any part of us can become the center. The practice of Druidry serves to create and facilitate the rituals that are necessary to bring us to an awareness of the center, to bring the eternal and the mysterious into the present and into the now. When we do this, we consciously exist within the miraculous. This is the power of Druidry, a power that will be expressed to you throughout the coming chapters. Dodenolat van Hoyd, to come back to my trees. This is the truth that Druids strive towards, and the wisdom that results from returning to your center has the ability to enchant the world. We are never truly lost in the forests of life, for the entire forest is a metaphor for communication and relationship. We might lose our sense of direction and become temporarily blinded to the center, but we can always find our way. Scientifically, we understand that the forest communicates via a vast mycelial network, the Wood Wide Web. Each strand of that web is connected to the center, to the world tree. Druidry is the art and craft of finding the networks that return us to the trees of our making. It does this through the lens of the Celtic cultural continuum, finding the webs of connection between the here and now and the deep past. Druids weave the webs that connect us to the center, and as we weave, we become immersed in the wonders of the world around us, but not so distracted that we lose sight of the world tree. In that weaving, Druids grow into their wisdom, and in that wisdom they serve the world and its inhabitants, and from that wisdom they illuminate the paths in the forest that lead to the world tree. Druids are the enchanters that the world so desperately needs. I wrote this book to offer you the tools and knowledge necessary for you to become the enchanter. Druidry brings to my life the most meaning, significance, and beauty. It is a joyous path. At every turn in the forest of its treasures, one is met with the sagacity of the past, the wonder of the present, and the hope of a future that is steeped in inspiration, magic, and wisdom. Druidry transforms my anxieties into joy, and it has the potential to do the same for you. It is a path of inspiration and wisdom that was old when the world was new. It is a magical craft that has the potential to completely change your life. So let us return through the forest to the trees of our making, and there make magic that made the world. Chapter 1. Druidry, the Language of Trees. Prior to unpacking the meaning of Druidry itself, we must consider the use of the word Druid, what it means, and whether we can glean any inspiration from that meaning. In etymological terms, Druid can be taken to have two distinct meanings.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?